Bill Gates is an American businessman, software developer, investor, and philanthropist. He's one of the co-founders of Microsoft, and in 1995 to 2017, he was the richest man in the world. Today, Gates runs the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which is the largest private charity in the world. His foundation works to save lives and improve global health. Along with that, Gates is an avid reader, reading about 50 books per year. And he's able to do this because he follows a few simple rules that allows him to read very consistently and allows him to take in and remember a lot of what he reads.
Booster ignition and liftoff.
Usain Bolt, look at the time, 9:58 world record.
Everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you.
What is up, guys? My name is Logan Schmelin, and this is my brand new video series called Experimental Success, a series where I put the habits, routines, and processes of the world's most successful and interesting people to the test. In this episode, I'm going to be breaking down a few tips and rules that Bill Gates follows when he reads that allows him to read a very large amount of books and retain a ton of information. And then I'm going to be doing an experiment where I use his rules and I use his tactics and I use his habit of reading every single day, and I put it to the test and see how well it actually works. So if you guys are interested in seeing how well Bill Gates' strategy when it comes to reading can help you retain information and consume more information, make sure you stay to the end of this video. With that being said, let's get started with Bill Gates' first rule when it comes to reading. The first rule that Gates follows when he reads is he's constantly making notes in the margins. This allows him to highlight important information, highlight new information, maybe even contradicting information from what he already knows. And by taking these notes is also just another way to solidify the knowledge that he's taking into his mind. The second rule that Gates follows that allows him to consistently read 50 books per year is that he always finishes what he starts. Now, although he's a very avid reader, he's also very specific on what he reads and very intentional on what he reads. With that being said, he's not willing to stop reading a book until he reads every single page. And the third rule that Gates follows that allows him to read a ton is that when he sits down to read on a daily basis, he makes sure he blocks out at least an hour. This allows him to get into the story and actually allows him to read a decent amount and take in a decent amount of information. He said that reading isn't something that you can't just do 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. It's something that you actually have to put a decent amount of time in order to get something out of it. Along with those 3 rules, Gates is constantly making connections between the information in the book and the information that he already knows. This allows him to retain a lot of the information he's taking in because instead of just trying to learn a new piece of information, he's connecting it with the knowledge that he already knows. This type of thinking is scientifically proven to help you remember more information because you're just strengthening connections that you already have in your brain instead of trying to recreate and make new ones. When it comes to choosing a book, Gates and his wife Melinda are constantly exchanging books, and along with that, he is constantly taking recommendations from friends. If you're interested in seeing a full book list of all of the books Gates has read along with reviews, go to gatesnotes.com. The link will be down in the description below. Being a very curious person that I am, I wanted to put Gates' habit of reading an hour or more every single day along with his other rules and along with his thinking process to the test for 1 week to see if I notice any benefits. Now, I understand a lot of the benefits of reading comes from long-term commitment to reading like 50 books a year, not just reading 1 book in 1 week. For the purpose of this experiment, I just really want to put Gates' thinking process to the test and see if I can retain just as much information as he can just by using his rules and his tactics when he reads books. Now, for my book selection, I chose Business Adventures by John Brooks. I chose this book because this is actually Bill Gates' favorite book on business, and it was recommended to him by Warren Buffett in 1991. So for the next 7 days, I will be reading an hour a day. I will be taking notes in the margins just like Gates recommends, and I will be constantly relating the information in the book to the knowledge that I already have on the subject. Today is the first day of this experiment, and it went pretty well. Normally, it is difficult for me to sit down and start reading, But once I sat down, once I started reading, I set a timer on my phone. The time actually flew by. This book was very interesting, and I was learning a lot about the stock market crash of 1962. Along with that, I was taking notes on things that I just didn't know or things that I thought was interesting to me. And then I was making connections between the information that I already knew. To be honest, within this first chapter, I learned a ton and realized that I really didn't understand how the stock market and the stock exchange back in the day worked. So it was very interesting to me. I feel like I retained a decent amount of the information I took in, and I'm actually excited to continue reading. Okay, today is day 3. Reading went great again. Getting into it is always difficult for me. There's like a wall between me not reading and me getting started reading, but as soon as I get started reading, the hour seems to fly by. Now that I'm using his strategy of reading an hour, I feel like I'm getting a decent amount of reading in, and then throughout it, when I am making connections between the information in the book and what I know, it actually like keeps you in the book more. I've noticed that in other books, I can read for like 20 minutes and then I kind of forget that I'm reading and I'm like in my head somewhere else. But when you're constantly making connections, you're constantly taking notes in the margins, it's making reading very interactive, and I've found that that has a big factor when it comes to how much information in the book I retain. Today is day 5 of reading like Bill Gates, and I'm not gonna lie, yesterday was day 4 and I struggled a little bit with getting the whole hour done. 30 minutes in, I actually stopped reading and I went on to other things, and then in the afternoon, I forgot to go back to it. Bill Gates' one rule of making sure you read an hour at a time, I definitely think is a good rule to follow. So this morning I woke up, made sure I read for the full hour, and just like the rule, I definitely got a lot more out of it for reading an hour just compared to reading 30 minutes like I did yesterday. So far, the whole challenge is going great. Reading an hour a day definitely has a lot of benefits. Making connections between what you know and what the book is saying really keeps you engaged in the book and allows you to read for a whole hour a lot easier than if you weren't actually paying attention to what you're reading. Today is day 7, the final day of this challenge of reading like Bill Gates, and it went really well. Today was honestly the best day of reading so far. I changed up my morning routine a little bit. I actually read after I did the rest of my morning routine, and it just seemed to work more. I was a little bit more awake compared to reading first thing in the morning when I'm still in bed. So the challenge overall, it went very well. Adopting Bill Gates' rules of taking notes in the margins, making connections between the book and the information you already know, and reading for at least an hour every single day. Even though I kind of tested that one, there are 3 rules that I would definitely recommend following if you're trying to read at all. As far as the progress I made in the book, I think I'm about 37% of the way through the book, so I'm not as far as I was expecting to be. I wanted to finish the book, but I did read for an hour every single day except for one day. Now, I'm only 7 days into reading like Bill Gates, but this is definitely something I'm going to continue doing because it's allowing me to take in a lot of information in a much more effective way than I've ever done before. Obviously, this book being recommended by Warren Buffett and being Bill Gates' #1 business book, that means there's a lot of information in this book that I can learn from. So I'm definitely going to keep reading this book. I'm definitely going to finish it. And after that, I'm going to continue consuming books just like Bill Gates. As far as this challenge, that is the end of this video. I hope you guys learned a thing or two about how Bill Gates reads and how you can make your reading, your learning, your daily routine more effective. If you guys like this video, if you want to see more videos just like this one, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel where I'm going to be releasing a video just like this one every single Friday. If you want to support me, my channel, my growth, my recovery, check out my website, loganchamelon.com/shop, where you can buy a piece of merchandise from me. And that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This video was another fun one to make. This type of video, this experimental success series, is probably one of the most passionate things I've ever created on this platform, and I'm so happy to bring you guys along for the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.